Hello and welcome to Pigeon Lectures. Today we're going to be looking at a murder that occurred in the small town of Kingsbridge, which many locals don't know about. But before we start the video, I'm just going to give a warning that the sound might be a bit off in this video, as I'm still learning how to use the mic properly and edit it. I've pretty much figured it out now, so videos going forward should be much clearer, but there probably will be mic issues during this one. Without wasting too much of your time, let's get into the video. In the year 1932, on the 9th of May, in a small town in Kingsbridge, William Yeoman, a 50-year-old man, 6'2" tall, a husband and father of 3 children, walked into the local cottage hospital. He was wearing a large coat, and with what the doctors described as a horrible grin, requested to visit his 9-year-old son George, who was currently being treated for blood poisoning in the hospital. As it wasn't visiting hours, he was turned away. He wandered around the town waiting for the right time. He had apparently been very anxious about the state of his son. When he would later return, he walked into his son's ward, brandished a shotgun and opened fire on the poor boy 2 times. As this was happening, a woman by the name of Emma Townsend was visiting her sister who was also being treated at the hospital. She ran into the ward to see what all the noise was about, to see William beating his son with the butt of the shotgun. William knocked Emma to the ground, hitting her with a shotgun in the head as he ran out of the hospital into the surrounding fields. The police were called to search for William, who had disappeared into the fields, as Emma and George were treated for their wounds. Despite the heavy beating, George had survived, but was in critical condition. Emma had actually become a friend of George, as every time she would visit her sister in the hospital, she would also go see George, even bringing him toys to play with before his father arrived. After being called, the police immediately went to William's house to search for him. When they arrived at Sigdon Farm, the property that William and his family lived in, the property was locked up. After forcing their way in, they discovered a gruesome scene. William's entire family had been murdered. He found his 40-year-old wife dead on the kitchen floor. His 10-year-old daughter was found dead in the cowshed, while his younger son, Alfred, just 14 months old, was found with her. William was later found hiding at Burley Dolts, just on the outskirts of Marlborough. Emma Townsend, the woman who attempted to disarm William, despite losing a lot of blood when William hit her with the gun, she made a full recovery. Unfortunately, George, who has been treated for his blood poisoning, died 2 days later of the wounds his father inflicted on him. Now, what drove William to murder his entire family? Now let's look at William and his family to try find out what caused him to do this. William was described as a simple, decent man. He had met his wife Olivia Westlake in Plymouth, with William's father paying for the taxi fares so he could travel to visit her parents in North Devon to ask their permission to marry her. Together with financial backing from William's dad, they rented out Sigdon Farm together. William was apparently very devoted to his wife. In the local community, they were respected as churchgoers. Their marriage produced 3 children. From the outside, everything seemed fine. William even hired an extra farmhand to help around the farm. In William's trial, he blamed his dad for the murders. William argued that if his dad hadn't financially supported him and his wife, none of this would have happened, as he never would have been able to ask Olivia's parents permission to marry her without his father paying for the taxi fare all those years ago, and them not being able to afford the farm themselves. Making this more disturbing, William was only arrested 4 miles away from his dad lived. We can probably guess what William done to his family. He had similar plans to do with his dad. But William's explanation doesn't make a lot of sense. That more sounds like the ramblings of a deranged man who is suffering from a mental breakdown, as under the surface William seemed to be very troubled. As William and Olivia had both been very anxious about the state of their son George, who we learnt previously was being treated for blood poisoning at the hospital. On top of that, the farm wasn't doing very well financially. What probably happened is that the stress of these financial burdens mixed with the anxiousness he is feeling for the state of his son, built up over time, causing a violent outburst. After all of what happened, where did William end up? During the trial that followed, William was charged with the entire murder of his family and the attempted murder of Emma Townsend. William was declared insane and sentenced to the infamous Broadmoor prison, where he spent the remainder of his life. Now, I wasn't able to find what age William died or when. At the time of his sentencing, William was 50 years old. And if you know anything about Broadmoor prison, you probably know William didn't have a very enjoyable last few years of his life. Now, I know this has been quite a depressing story, but there is one upside to it. As on the 6th of September, Emma Townsend, the woman who attempted to disarm William, travelled to London, where she was awarded the Empire Gallantry Award by King George VI himself for her bravery, being one of the 4 women who was awarded the medal. That brings us to the end of this story. Again, I apologise for any mic issues during this video. If you did like the video, please like and subscribe. Below in the description of this video, I've included links to all the sources I use for this video. If you have any questions, leave them below and I'll try and answer them the best I can. Thank you for listening. I hope you found this entertaining. The next video I'll be doing will be covering the case of the Devil's Footprints in Devon. A strange event where odd footprints appeared overnight all over Devon. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next video. It should be coming out in a week or so subscribe so you don't miss out. If you have any suggestions for topics to cover, leave them below and I'll look into them. Thanks again for listening.